Hello, my dear friends. I hope you all are doing good. This is Prashant Mamani, and I warmly welcome all of you to Study IQ. The topic that we have today is COP 23. COP stands for Conference of Parties. 23 means this is the 23rd meeting, and it is happening under the big umbrella of United Nations Climate Change Conference. Now, the first question is that why this particular topic is important. Dear friends, if you go back to your prelims examination or MCQ papers, may it be of state government or may it be of national government exams, you will find, you'd be happy to know that at least one question is asked every year from this topic of climate change. If you go to your descriptive papers of mains examinations, then you would be happy to know that at least one or many times you find two or more questions as well that are having a direct relationship with climate change. The other thing is that, dear friends, if you go through United Nations General Assembly, if you listen to the speech of President, Prime Minister, or any other ministers or famous people of our country, then you find that they are also talking about one thing, and the whole world is on one page when we talk about two biggest threats through which the whole humanity or the whole earth is going through. First is, of course, terrorism, and the second one is climate change. So this I believe three important reasons which makes this topic a very important topic, and you will of course find questions in the future as well pertaining to this thing. Now, before moving ahead, I would like to tell you that the way we are going to go through this topic is going to be a sort of curtain raiser in nature, because as we are speaking, the meeting is still on. Hopefully when this meeting is over, this COP 23 is over, we are going to analyze it. We are going to see what are the things that have been decided in this meeting. Dear friends, I would like to also introduce all of you to the up to 35% discount that is available on StudyIQ's pen drive and tablet courses. It is a Children's Day sale that is going on, but it is going to stay there only till 15th November. So if you haven't got our pen drive and tablet courses, I would recommend all of you to do it as soon as possible. Check out StudyIQ.com. Need any help? You have chat support on it, and you can always give us a call on the numbers that you can see on your screen. Now, dear friends, how we are going to start it? I will start with Paris Agreement, because Paris Agreement is a sort of, you can say, a root of this COP 23. Paris Agreement is also known as COP 21. It took place in year 2015, at the end of 2015, and at that point of time 200 countries signed this Paris Agreement. Now, one of the most important thing about Paris Agreement is that this is the first truly global deal that took place on climate change. This is the main reason why Paris Agreement is so much cherished around the world, and whenever anything you find regarding Paris Agreement, it becomes important, because this is the first global deal when it comes to climate change. Now, this line here is important as well. What is the main goal of Paris Agreement? Right, keeping global temperature below 2 degrees Celsius, right? This is the main goal of Paris Agreement. This should be very clear in your mind, because see, if it when it comes to pre-questions, they may ask you what is how much degree you have to keep under this Paris Agreement. What is the whole agreement when it comes to temperature rise by the end of this century, right? So before 2100, we have to ensure that that global average temperature is below 2 degree, and if possible we should also try to keep it below 1.5. so these are two important figures here. It should be clear in your mind, because even if you're writing a descriptive answer, if you say, for example, by mistake, if you write 3 degree, or rather than 1.5, if you write 2.5 or some other figure, then what happens is the person who is going to check your answer, he or she will know that you know something about it, but that you know, that final touch, or you can say the perfection, is still lacking. So this is the reason why I am telling you that this 2 degree and 1.5 degrees should be clear in your mind. The other thing is regarding Paris Agreement is that, dear friends, if you see the things that are going on around the world, let's talk about India. Recently we saw a couple of days ago Chennai, right? Chennai faced some floods. Earlier on we saw Mumbai underwater. And then if you see Assam, every year we see a flood situation taking place in Assam. Then this year Gujarat was underwater as well, And because of this reason, Election Commission also took some time to declare, before declaring this schedule of election, it gave some time, because this relief and rescue work is still going on in Gujarat, or you can say restoration work is still on in Gujarat. The other thing that we find in our country is that at the same time, right, on some parts of our country is under water and the other parts are under drought. So you can, as a sort of administrator, as an administrator, or as a part of government, you can imagine that you have to deal with two extreme situations in one, you can say, at a same period of time, right? At some places you have to get rid of all this water and things like that, and the other places you have to provide water. The other thing is the most horrific thing regarding this floods and water related disasters is that it has second innings as well. That means once the rainfall is over, you will have outbreak of many diseases, and this will kill and destroy many lives as well. Then we saw this Caribbean area, this West Indies and Kingston, or you can say this Jamaica and other islands of this North America, where under this hurricane. And we also saw wildfires taking place in Portugal last year as well. Portugal had this wildfires, and this year as well, and many people have lost their lives. So there are many examples. I can go on and on, but these are a few things to highlight that this climate change thing is a real thing. This is a thing. It's not limited to book. We can see its impact on our lives as well. Now, another most important thing regarding Paris Agreement, I'm not sure how many of you know about this thing, but it is important that you have to understand that there are some limitations as well, or there are some, you can say, flaws. I won't say flaws, because this sort of deals, it does take some time for you to finalize, because you have to take the whole world on board. So it does take some time. But the biggest limitation that you can say of Paris Agreement is that it came out with principles. It provided us, the whole world, with principles, but the details of how we are going to execute this principles is still lacking. So you can say that the Paris Agreement provided us with a strategy, but now how to implement this strategy is still not clear, and we are going to sort out this one in COP23. We will see what is going on, but with this principle and not providing details can be one of the diplomat. He very brilliantly explained that this is something like you have a brilliant smartphone, but you don't have operating system in it. So this is the thing, right? Regarding Paris Agreement, it is a brilliant new smartphone but no operating system. So this is the thing. That's why we have this COP23, Conference of Parties 23, that is going on in Bonn. Bonn is a big city of Germany. It is going on over there as we are speaking. As I told you, the nature of our discussion is going to be a sort of curtain raiser. We are going to go through all the important details in a bird's eye view form. So this 23rd annual conference is trying to, the main aim here is of course to halt this global warming. We have to ensure this is not something, it is not a sort of option, right? This is a sort of necessity. There is no way out. We don't have any other solution. We have to stop this global warming. The other thing is it is of course under the big umbrella of United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. If you find a question in form of pre or MCQ that it is a sort of independent meeting taking place, then no, it is under United Nations FCCC. So keep this thing in mind. Now 25,000 people are expected to attend this COP, and it will include of course diplomats and representatives of all the countries that have signed this Paris Agreement, or the countries that are falling under this UNFCCC. But you will also have environmentalists, you will have scientists, as well as you will have lobbyists as well. You will have people who are working in wood industry, wood supplying industry. So of course these are the people who are cutting down jungles and things like that. You will have people who are associated with petroleum and other fossil fuel business. So they would lobby, they would of course look after their own back. So we have to, you can understand, it is not going to be a sort of easy thing. It looks that the whole world is united and things like that, but there are many troubles, and you have many hurdles as well that you have to cross. The date, it is going to last till 17th November. And as I told you, once everything is over, we will of course analyze it as well. Now, dear friends, there are some key countries that will be under spotlight in this COP23. And of course, you have India and China, because India and China are the top 5 polluters. If I'm not wrong, China is the number 1 and India is number 3. USA is rank 2. So we are on the top 5 list of polluting countries in the world, and you have other countries as well, like Estonia, Peru, Ecuador, Iran, Mali, Ethiopia and Maldives. And most of these small countries, islands, right, this Maldives, and then you have this other countries, they are directly affected, right? All the island nations, they are directly under threat of rising sea levels. So of course they are also very aggressively trying to convince the whole world that we should get rid of all this extensive, or you can say huge amount of carbon emission. And finally, when this meeting will come to an end, at that point of time, you will have a sort of push. Final push will be provided by French president as well as German's chancellor. So that's how this is going to roll out. Having said that, dear friends, why COP23 matters, why it is important. As I told you, there are some limitations with Paris Agreement, and the other thing is, see, the things that we are seeing, I told you, many floods and drought situations and hurricanes and other things that are going on. And overall, I can say that the whole world is at present standing on a borderline, right? This is a borderline. If we cross this borderline, we are here, we are standing on this line. If we cross this border, then we are going to enter into a zone from which there is no way back. The damage that will happen on our planet Earth is going to be irreversible in nature. So we will never be able to restore the things that used to be earlier on. So we have to, there are many things, right? It is about the future, it is about the present as well. That's at stake as when it comes to climate change. As I told you, there are limitations. So this Bonn COP23, it matters quite a lot, because it is going to frame rules, right? It is going to frame those rules, and it will provide with all the details. It will provide us with all the details that how we are going to implement the principles that we have decided, or the whole world has decided during Paris Agreement. So that's one of the reasons why you also see that it is known as a rule book, right? COP23 is also known as Paris Agreement rule book. And by the end of 2018, before we have this COP24 that is going to take place in Poland, before that, all the details of how government is going to look after, or what are the things that government has to do, etc., etc., will be decided. All the rules will be decided, and the rules are not only limited to the government or any nations. It is also going to decide, this COP23 is going to decide rules for private players as well, non-state actors like private factories, how or what are the rules that they have to follow, how much emission would be allowed, things like that. It will also define this accounting rules for climate finance. It will also talk about this transparency thing, so that the whole world will come to know whether any country is cheating, or whether any country is you can say on the top of the table when it comes to implementations and things like that. So you can have this a sort of healthy competition as well. At the same time, if someone is misbehaving and not following the rules, then they can be placed in hall of shame and things like that as well. So this is why it matters a lot. Apart from that, you have 3 important things, dear friends, and these are very important things. The first one is, of course, at present we don't have any sort of international standards when it comes to comparing how much carbon emission is being emitted by other country, or when you can say there are no universal scales at present in the hands of the world. So we don't know, or when it comes to scaling down, or when it comes to cutting down carbon emission, we don't know whether USA, if say for example if USA cuts down 10 kg of CO2, then is it okay for a country like USA, big country like USA, or industrialized country like USA? Is it enough to cut down 10 kg per day or per year, whatever? This is just an example. And then you have some scales and standards so that you can also compare, right? You can have a ratio of whether Maldives is doing enough or whether India is doing enough in terms of China. So if we don't have this scale, then if we don't have proper data, then we cannot come to a conclusion. We cannot analyze anything if we don't have a reliable source of data. So this is a very important step that will take place. The second one is about what about after or post 2020. Till 2020, we know these are the things, or this is how every country has said that. India has said that we are going to get rid of, by 2030, India has said that we are going to get rid of nearly 33 to 35% of carbon emission from 2005 level. And there are some commitments that India has done that we are going to achieve, hopefully, before 2020. But what about after 2020? The way we are going on, it looks like it is not enough. When I say when we are, I mean to say the whole world is going on. It's not enough. The pace at which we are working is not enough. So this COP23 will decide post 2020 rules as well. What are the new set of rules, and what are the new set of targets or ambitious goals that should be achieved or that should be followed by other countries. And the third one, and the most important one, is pertaining to money, right? Money is a big thing for every country. And we also saw how USA, right? USA blamed India. Mr. Trump said that a couple of months ago. He said that India is a country that has signed Paris Agreement to get maximum money from developed countries. This was an allegation that was sticked on us, which is not right as well. Sushma Swaraj, our Minister of External Affairs, very you can say meticulously you can say defended this wrong allegation, because the thing is we have talked about this thing on different platforms. India has clearly said that if you go back, if you look at our tradition, then as well it is about protecting or being in harmony with nature. The other thing is, because of all this industrialization and things like that, we are also seeing there are huge problems or challenges through which we are going through. But our traditional history, if we go back to our roots, then we find that India has always been a country, the culture of India has been in tune with nature. It's about being in tune with nature, respecting nature and protecting it and things like that. So we are going to follow the same principle, and many times Prime Minister has also said that the world can learn many things from the ancient practice of India when it comes to protecting nature or conserving nature. Having said that, dear friends, when it comes to money, right, let me tell you that India is not for money. I'm not saying that this thing because I am an Indian, not at all. If you look at the things that India has done in the recent past, you know that India came out with this International Solar Alliance. The things that we are, the targets that we have set for ourselves, these targets are not been implemented by someone else, or it is not something that someone else has decided these targets for us. No, we have basically we took a stand, and we are doing quite good when it comes to we are going to produce 175 gigawatt from renewable source of energy. We are also promoting renewable source of energy in our neighboring countries as well. We are tying up with many developed countries like France, America, and other countries like Japan, so that we can use nuclear energy. Nuclear is a clean source of energy, though it produces some sort of carbon emission, but it is reasonably safe when you compare it with the coal and other things. The other thing is, when it comes to money, dear friends, why we are asking for money, right? Why under this Paris Agreement it is a thing that the developed countries will provide money to developing countries. See, we represent 17% of world population, isn't it? And we know the situation or financial or economical situation of our country. We know that a huge amount of our population is still under severe poverty. And when you compare, if you study this thing, poverty, then you will find that if you want to control pollution, right, if you want to get rid of pollution, then you need to develop, or you need to bring out people from this poverty. I'll give you one example. Clean fuel and using this wood for cooking. You know that if you use this chula, the traditional way of cooking, then wood is the fuel, then wood will emit a huge amount of carbon dioxide and other gases, and it directly impacts the health of the lady who is cooking the food. The other thing is when you adopt this clean energy, this clean or reasonably clean in comparison with this wood, when you cook on LPG gas, then of course the lady there, she does not have to go to the in the jungle or in the forest to fetch this wood. She can look after family and kids, right? So the nutrition and other things will be sorted out as well. So if you see the big picture, then the poverty has a direct relationship with the pollution. The more poverty you have, the more pollution and all these things are going to go on. And to bring them out from this poverty, we would need a sort of helping hand from developed countries, because these are the developed countries. The developed countries that we know today, may it be England, Netherlands, or countries of Europe or USA or Canada. These are the countries, right? They are the main culprits. You can say they are the countries who have been responsible for the destruction of climate, because since the inception of industrialization of this steam engine and other things, they are the ones who are using all these things. If you go back and see, then it is only from last few decades India and China have started using this modern way of producing things and industries and things like that, and all these vehicles and all these things you can take under this thing. So it's a recent thing that has started in India and China, but these developed countries have been using this thing from last many centuries, and they are the ones who have done this thing. They have huge amount of money as well. They have made money out of their industrialization, and so they are responsible for this thing. So of course, under Paris Agreement as well, this has been agreed by everyone that they will provide money for or a sort of money for in terms of a helping hand. They will provide money and technology, and as per agreement, it is decided that every year $100 billion will be collected per year, right? 100 billion per year, and this will be distributed between different developing countries. The other thing, United Nations estimates that by 2030, this developing countries will face costs of $140 billion to $300 billion a year to adapt to climate change. So we need money, no doubt. All the developing countries need money. The other thing is, and this is a very unique way of celebrating, or you can say a very green way. This COP23 is different in all aspects, because first of all, see, earlier on what used to happen, it was this developed countries, they used to run the whole show, but now it has been changed, and it has been changed for a good, you can say. For the first time, we are seeing a small island country like Fiji, right? That is going to be the president. Fiji is in fact at present the COP president, and Frank Bainimarama, right? Bainimarama, he is the prime minister of Fiji, and he is the president of COP23, and the Fiji country of Fiji is the head of this COP23. Though it is taking place in Germany, for obvious reason, we can understand that a small island like Fiji, for it's a big thing. If you have 25,000 people all of the sudden visiting here, it would be it will affect its resources, the limited resources that it has. So this is one of the reasons why Germany said that we are going to look after this meeting. So this is one of the reasons why we see it is taking place in Bonn. The other thing is Fiji is, as I told you, these are the island nations that have suffered a huge amount of loss due to different disasters, and in 2016 they had this cyclone Winston. You should keep this thing in mind as well. Winston is a disaster or a cyclone that happened in Fiji. Now coming to Bonn, now Bonn has huge amount of this place that can be utilized for this sort of meetings or conference. The other thing is, as I told you, this is a very green way of celebrating. Germany has set aside 117 million euro or 136.3 million dollar for this whole COP23, and the people who are attending this COP23, they'll be chauffeured, or their transportation will take place in electric buses, and cycles are provided, and in fact one bottle will be given to this participant, and they have to keep this bottle. They have to reuse it. It's not like they will get a new water bottle every day or every time they need water. No, they have to carry this bottle with them, and by doing this, it is believed that nearly 500,000 plastic cups, nearly 5 lakh plastic cups will be saved. So you can say that this is a very green way of taking it. The biggest challenge that is been faced by this UNFCCC or COP23 or Paris Agreement is the step out of United States. We know that this Paris Agreement was signed under Barack Obama's era, but now we have Mr. Donald Trump, and he said that we are not getting anything out of this Paris Agreement, so we are going to withdraw it. Though the whole process of divorce of USA from Paris Agreement will take effect in 2020, so we have a couple of years to go. So it's not a thing that is or you can say it's not a threat that is standing right at our door. But when it comes to finance, then of course it is going to be a big problem, because if we are not getting money and support from a country that is second biggest polluter, and of course this country is a very industrialized country, as well as it is one of the richest nation in the world, so of course it has to provide something out of its pocket. But the positive vibe, or the way this threat of Donald Trump has been taken, is very positive, and hats off to United Nations chief climate negotiator Christiana Figueres. The United Nations chief said that there is no problem with the United Nations threat, because in fact what has happened, that the stepping out or this threat from United Nations has in fact United States, the threat from United States has in fact has pushed us, or you can say it has worked as a glue for the rest of the country. We are more closer now, and we are more committed to sort out this climate change thing. So you know, even European Union and European countries are not in the same page when it comes to Donald Trump's stand or USA's stand of stepping out of this Paris Agreement. So one country cannot sabotage the deal that is made by the whole world. So we are in a right direction, we can say. The other thing is that there are many states and cities and businesses in USA. They have also said that they are going to provide money, and I have a small example here for you. Michael Bloomberg, who was a former New York City mayor, he said that he is going to provide $15 million as a sort of help or aid in UNFCCC for this Paris Agreement. Recently, Syria became the Syria became the latest country to sign Paris Agreement. They have signed a couple of days ago only during this COP23. Even a vote on country like Syria is ready to sign this thing, and Nicaragua was earlier on not happy with the things that are going on, because it's not Nicaragua is is something or doing things that are in line with the USA. Not at all. Nicaragua is in fact, the World Bank termed this country as the renewable energy paradise in 2013, because 90%, you can imagine, nearly 90% of energy of Nicaragua by 2020 will be coming from renewable source. It has worked. You can say it is one of the, you can say, lighthouse or a role model when it comes to utilization of or using or renewable energy. So now Nicaragua as well is happy with it. It finally decided that rather than not having anything, it is better to have something on which the whole world is on one page. Now the thing is, dear friends, the need of the hour is, of course, we know that we have to control this rising pollution and the rising temperature. And if the way we are going on, if we do the same thing, then by the end of this century, the global temperature on an average would be 3 degrees, which is going to destroy the whole world. And we have to also ensure that we build trust, and we have participation of all the countries that are part of this Paris Agreement, because if we don't build trust and agreement, then we will have some sort of debacle that we faced in Copenhagen 2009. So we don't want to repeat those things. And very interesting thing that I would like to present in front of you when it comes to climate change. This whole COP23 is been named as you can say Talon OA Dialogue. Now Talon OA, what Talon OA is? Talon OA is a cultural principle of Fiji, right? It refers to a spirit of listening, participation and empathy, right? These are the three things that are part of Talon OA, and Fiji will lead this Talon OA Dialogue. And the empathy, you can understand that we place ourselves in someone else's shoe, and that's what Fiji is trying to highlight, that you should think from Fiji's and other islands perspective as well. The way things are going on in our country, sea level is rising and we are losing our little bit land that we have and things like that. So remember this thing as well when it comes to Talon OA Dialogue. We are talking about COP23. This is the thing that has been given by this word, or this philosophy or spirit has been given by a country called Fiji. So these things are important, so keep these things in mind. And of course we will discuss about this thing in detail when this whole COP23 comes to a conclusion. Having said that, dear friends, there are many people who believe, or they are a bit skeptical, or they are saying that this is the last opportunity that the world has. If we fail in Paris Agreement, then we don't know when the whole world will be on a same page when it comes to dealing with this climate change. Having said that, dear friends, I believe that all the things that are going on at present, the important things of course, have been covered under this discussion here. And I would also like to remind all of you that 15 November is the last date of up to 35% discount, so make the most out of it. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Do share this lecture with others as well. It will provide it is a sort of an act in terms of making a positive change, creating awareness regarding climate change. Do give us a like if you have learned something out of this video. I would love to hear your views as well, how we can sort out this thing, how the world can stick with each other, how we can stick with each other shoulder to shoulder, and how we can fight this climate change thing. So do let me know in the comment section your views and your feedback. With this, enjoy your studies. Jai Hind.